Well, welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, and I told Debbie, Pastor Debbie, several weeks ago. She was talking. They were talking about the fast and the Jehu fast and things like that, and that they were going to call the church to a fast. And I told her that I love teaching on the Daniel fast. I've done this before, um, so I so she hit me up a couple of weeks ago and said, "Would you do it?" And I told her yes, I would be glad to. Um, so I've looked into this a couple of years ago. James and I have done this several years. We didn't do it last year. The year before we did a modified fast to the Daniel fast. But there's a couple of questions, and some people don't know even what a fast is or why we should fast. So, number one, I want to go over why should we fast? Um, we need, whenever you fast, you're partnering with God. He desires to have a divine partnership with us. And in two distinct areas of partnership are fasting and prayer. Prayer for your family, prayer for your life, prayer for your destiny, prayer for God's purpose in your life. There are times when God requires us to take physical action to receive a special blessing. In Mark 9:29, in the New Testament, it talks about fasting. It talks about fasting in the Old Testament. But in Mark 29, 9:29, it says the story is that there was a man who had a sick child. He was really more than sick. He needed deliverance. The disciples had prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And you can look this story up, Mark 9:29. And they asked Jesus. Jesus walked in, and Jesus healed him and delivered him. And they asked, why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we do? We're your disciples. Why couldn't we do that? And he said, some things take fasting and prayer. Some things take fasting and prayer. So let me ask you, if you have some things in your life that you are trying to overcome, maybe it's finances, maybe it's an illness, maybe it's a prodigal child. Uh, Sometimes it takes fasting, not just prayer. And we are very blessed that this house is a house of prayer. And that we can go and so thankful, so blessed that we can go to God in prayer anytime. But sometimes He wants us to be challenged. He wants us to do something physical in order for Him to be able to do something spiritual. In Exodus 17, it tells the story of Moses, and some of us have heard this story. I don't like to say everybody knows it because maybe not everybody knows it. But there was a battle that the children of Israel were fighting, and Moses was leading them. They were in a battle, and as he lifted up his hands, he got weary. But as long as he lifted up his hands, he was winning the battle. When he dropped his hands, consequences changed. So sometimes what we do physically affects our circumstances. And it can affect the battle, and it can affect the victory spiritually. Fasting is the most powerful physical action a Christian can take to show God that we're sincere about wanting to change. So that's some reasons we should fast. Another reason we should fast is that we are under the authority of our pastors here, and they've called us to a fast. And leaders back in ancient times in Jerusalem, they would call everybody to a fast. They would fast and pray, and the whole country would do that. The whole nation would do that. Wouldn't it be remarkable if our whole nation, can you imagine what we could accomplish if our whole nation went to a fast? It would be amazing. So those are some of the reasons we should fast. But what is fasting? Some people don't know what fasting is. Have you ever fasted? Are you fasting now? If you're not fasting now and you want to jump on board and start fasting, you can start fasting anytime. It's on your timeline, not on my timeline. It's between you and God. But what is fasting? Fasting is crucifixion of the flesh and having authority over the flesh. Fasting is abstinence of food and pleasure to weaken the flesh, to strengthen the spirit. So you tell the flesh, you're not stronger than the spirit within me. And there's going to be temptations. Sunday night I started praying, Lord, give me strength to go through this fast. The first thing that came on TV was a recipe for a big old chocolate cake. Chocolate cake is mine and James's vice. It is the hardest thing. We were at Walmart yesterday, and we were going down the aisle, and I told James, I got to get off this aisle. I can't even remember now what was bothering me, but I've got to get off of this aisle. We were picking up a few things. But you're going to be tempted. Because the devil's going to do it. He's just going to do it. He's going to try to get you to stop because he knows how powerful fasting is. And fasting is between you and God. And I want to look at a couple of verses. Matthew 6:16 through 18. When you fast, let me find it. Flipping my Bible here. Got my marks. Okay. Matthew 6:16 through 18. Here we go. Moreover, when you fast, do not be like the hypocrites with a sad countenance, for they disguise their faces that they may appear to men to be fasting. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. So you don't want to walk around, would you like to have a piece of cake? No, I'm fasting. You don't want to do that. Just say, no, I'm not participating in that right now. That's all you have to say. Surround yourself with like-minded people and you won't have that problem a lot of times too. So, but, God doesn't want us to walk around, oh, woe is me, I'm fasting. Or look at me, I'm fasting. He doesn't want that. He's not going to honor that. He will not honor that. He says you do it secretly and he will reward you openly. One thing that I've learned in fasting is God will give you a word. And if you're looking for a word for the year, God will give you a word if that's what you're praying for. And there are some powerful things that God has given people during fasting. He has done some remarkable things for people during their fasting. I know one year, for me, it was just a simple word, and I lived by this word all year long. It was keep the main thing the main thing. And I just focused on that. It just fell in my spirit when I was fasting and praying one day. I had a lot going on. I was working at the time. I had a lot of pressure, and just suddenly keep the main thing the main thing. And that sustained me for a long, long, long time. A long time during that time. Okay, so what kinds of fasts are there? Well, there's the Daniel fast in Daniel 10:1, and I literally had to look this up a while ago because I got confused on something. On Daniel 10:1, it says, in the 3rd year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belteshazzar. The message was true, but the appointed time was long, and he understood the message and had understanding of the vision. So this is the vision. In those days, I, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks, 21 days. I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all, till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. So that is what we call the Daniel fast. It's 21 days. And it is no sweets, no meats, no breads for 21 days. The other fast, there's a partial fast. It's from sun up to sundown. It can either be a full fast, the Daniel fast, or give up one food item. And then there is a full fast. You establish the days and you drink only liquids for however many days you determine. God, I'm going to do this for a week. No, nothing but liquids. And then there is a 3-day fast. That could be the full fast, the Daniel fast, or at least give up one food item. Now notice that on each fast it says a food item. Now some folks like to say, I'm going to give up social media. I'm going to give up watching TV. I'm going to give up listening to the radio, whatever, listening to music, nothing but Christian music. That's fine, but God honors a fast. He wants you to do something physically to challenge your spirit. So when you do the Daniel fast, there are several things that you can have that are, you think, there's no way I can go without sweets. There's no way I can go without meat. I've got to have protein. But there's different things that you can purchase that's easy, and it's a lot easier now because we've got a lot of plant-based foods now. Where they first started doing the Daniel fast, and I will tell you how this kind of came about. Back in ancient days, like I said earlier, the nations would be called to a fast by their leaders. Modern day fasts, the Daniel to fast, came to modern day existence, not nationally, I guess, through Jensen Franklin, actually, years ago, back in 2008. He declared for his church to go into a Daniel fast, and then he brought it public, and he brought it on national TV, and people picked it up. So much so that I will tell you that if you're looking for Daniel fast food, that Kroger always has it on sale every year this time. Every year. It's amazing. So I was telling the other day at the store, I said, I think somebody in corporate must have done the Daniel fast. And the lady said, I think so, because this stuff is all kind of stuff we're selling right now. So anyway, so I just thought I'd let you know that. So what are the results of fasting? The results of fasting. You know, you think, I'm going to do this, and is my prayer going to get answered, or am I going to see any results? You know, what's going to happen? Well, I can tell you that, yeah, you're going to see results, and they're going to be good results, and you're going to wonder, I should have done this before. So let me flip over here to where I want to go. Daniel 1, 4, and 5. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, find the right? Yeah. King of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the articles of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of the God, and he brought the articles into the treasure house of God. Then the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge, and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. Okay, so the kingdom had taken over, Babylon had taken over, and they took young men into captivity. 3 of these young men were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When they saw him, okay, chapter 5, and the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies, and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of the time they might serve before the king. Okay? Now we skip ahead to 17, verse 17. It says, as for these 4 young men, Daniel was in part of that, God gave them knowledge and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days, when the king had said that they should be brought in, the chief of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. Then the king interviewed them, and among them all none was found like Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Therefore they served before the king. Now what these young men did, they said, we want you to eat, we're going to give you the king's delicacies. And they said, no, that is against what we eat. We're not going to do that. We are going to eat what we normally eat. Now remember, these were children of Israel. These were Jewish, and they were used to eating kosher meals. And so now they're going into king's court, and he's got all these delicacies and fine pies and meats and sweets and all that, and they refused that. And when they refused that, he interviewed them again and found them to be very healthy, very well-mannered, very knowledgeable, because they had stuck to their guns, basically. When we fast, it shows God that we are showing our faith, and he honors that. And so the reward of that is that you're going to be healthier. I'm already feeling healthier. I have slept so good the last 2 nights, so hard. And it also shows that you're going to be prosperous. These Hebrew children were prosperous because they were high in the court. They were put high in the court. So it's going to allow you to be prosperous and healthy, and it's also going to allow you to be blessed by God. If you read Isaiah 58, 8 through 14, flip over there. This gets me really excited. The leaders of the country had called the country to a fast, and Isaiah is saying, this is what's going to happen once we fast. Here's what's going to happen to us. Verses 8, it says, then your light shall break forth like the morning. Your healing shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your right guard. This is what happens when you fast. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, here I am. If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and speaking wickedness, if you extend your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness shall be as noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your body. You shall be like a watered garden and like a spring of water whose waters do not fail. Those from among you shall build the old waste places. You shall raise up the foundation of many generations. And you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. If you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, from doing your pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy day of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing your own ways, not finding your own pleasure, nor speaking your own words, then you shall delight yourself in the Lord, and I will cause you to ride on the high hills of the earth, and feed you with the heritage of Jacob your father. The mouth of the Lord has spoken. That is the reward of fasting. You can be set upon the high hills. You can be a light to everybody around you. The glory of the Lord is just going to shine through you. People are going to be drawn to you. good things are going to happen whenever we fast. Whenever we do this, we always do it kind of at the first of the year because we want to set a precedent for what good things are going to come forward for the remainder of the year, for the rest of the year. So whenever we fast, we can expect good things because God gives us good things. He wants us to have good things. We're His children, just like we want our children to have good things. He wants us to have good things. So, um, in in closing, what I wanted to let you know is that there are several different things that you can eat on the Daniel fast. If you have not started the Daniel fast and you want to, or if you want to start any fast, you're start it. You know, be ready to start it. And you want to start it, I can give you some ideas on what you can eat. For the Daniel fast, you're supposed to eat fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes and beans, and beverages. Your beverages should be water and fresh pressed fruit or vegetable juice. You want to try to avoid sugar and preservatives the best you can. Some people say, well, you're not supposed to eat dairy. Some people say you are going to eat dairy. Um, you know, this is the way I look at it. God is going to honor whatever you decide to do. Whatever sacrifice you make, God is going to honor that sacrifice. I'm eating modified Daniel fast. I'm eating dairy. James is not eating dairy. But I'm eating dairy. So there are some foods that you can buy that you may not think of as being on a Daniel fast diet. Brown rice versus white rice is better. These are wonderful. I don't know if they're going to give me amenities for doing this or not, you know. But Boca burgers, they're really good. They're soy. They also have meatless meatballs. I found some meatless meatballs. I also found some hamburger crumbles that you can meatless beef crumbles that you can put like maybe with some beans, and corn tortillas are allowed. I found ragu, simply ragu, that is sugar free, and these are ziti, and they're made out of chickpeas. So they want you to eat whole grain. I got these at Kroger. Walmart's got them too. Let's see, what else do we eat? Peanut butter, rice cakes, popcorn. Today we had, just as an example, we had oatmeal for breakfast. I put just a little bit of honey on mine. James is better than I am about that. And I put cinnamon. Ezekiel bread is really, really good. It's high in protein and it's made out of grain and sprouts. You have to keep it in your refrigerator. Don't buy it, bring it home, put it in your bread box or leave it on your cabinet. You've got to keep it in the refrigerator or it will grow. It will sprout and grow. That's how full of sprouts it is. So we found this. It's like grape nuts. It's the Ezekiel 4:9 cereal. If anybody wants this, they can have it. They can take it home with them because we can't eat it. It's too crunchy. If you like grape nuts, this is great. I don't like grape nuts, so I won't eat it. And James can't eat it. But if anybody wants this, they're welcome to it. I had for lunch, I had an Ezekiel English muffin with a little bit of peanut butter and a banana. That was lunch today. So garden salad, you know, you think, oh, how can I make it without meat? How can I make it without meat? I am a carnivore. It is very difficult for me. And every like I said, the devil's going to use anything he can at all to tempt you. I walked outside and somebody's fireplace was burning and they had hickory burning in their fireplace, and it smelled like barbecue. And I had to say, "Get thee behind me, Satan." I was ready to go in and fix me a hamburger. I was so hungry for meat. It's going to happen. But God is going to honor the fact that you have put your flesh and your body into submission to the Spirit and not to what you want to do. And that's what fasting is all about. So if you have a prayer, if you have a concern, if you have a job, if you've got a crazy spouse, if you've got weird kids that are doing crazy stuff, take it to the Lord. Use this fast to be very, very specific about what you want to pray for and how you want to pray. How you want things to go in your life throughout the year. Lord, I want to get closer to you. I want to be what you want me to be. Show me what you have for me in this next year, or how I need to be, or what I need to do, or, do I need to have a sweeter spirit? I'm preaching to myself. So, anyway, I hope you learned something. I know this was kind of fast because when I get behind the microphone, I go real quick. But does anybody have any questions about anything? How to start, when to start, should I start, am I going to start, anything? Okay.
Does anybody have a story about time that you fasted in your life and saw God do something for you? Good shot. Good shot.
I think so.
I was an educator. I'll come around the mic and put it on. Time where you fast, we should fast because he told us to. But we also can just choose to fast. You can choose, I wanna give this to the Lord. It's like I spend time in prayer because I choose to, because I know that that gives me time alone with the Lord, and it grows my relationship with the Lord. You know, if you're able to fast, and some people, there's some physical things that sometimes, limit how they can do that, but if you're able to fast, and give that time to the Lord, not just skip a meal, but take that time that you would have given something to your physical body and spend time in prayer, so you have that connection with God and the sacrifice of your desires of your flesh. You're going to see God speak to your heart, change your heart. You're going to see God answer a prayer. You're going to see God reveal something to you that you weren't even expecting, or give you direction, or whatever it might be. So that's crucial, I think, too, is that it's not just skipping food. It's skipping food and taking that time to spend time with the Lord.
Yeah, fasting without prayer is a diet,
Yeah.
and we can all go on a diet, you know. So if you're going to fast, it's not just, oh, look, I'm not eating all these things, but what are you doing during the time that you don't normally, you know? Because it took me like 3 minutes to eat a English muffin with peanut butter on it, you know. So what would I have done if I had been eating a big full meal? Take that time, to pray, and it's not just, oh well, the way I do, and it's everybody can do their own thing, but when you fast, you may, just because you can eat all these things doesn't mean that you're supposed to gorge on all these things. You see what I'm saying? Because it's a fast. And so you are supposed to use your time praying rather than eating, but when you eat, you can eat these small things.
That has all my life. That has been one of my biggest pet peeves about fasting. Is I can't say how many times I've nearly bloodied my tongue writing it when I'm at church and doing a fast, and people proceed to tell me how they're fasting, this, that, and the other, everything but they're fasting social media, they're fasting YouTube, they're fasting this, and then they proceed to tell me all the things that I'm
one day and said, Scotty, how do you stay? She called me Scotty. Scotty, how do you stay slim? And I said, well, I mean, I try to eat kind of healthy, but exercise and stuff too. But I said I fast once a week, and I tell you that because what I found was our bodies are medically supposed to take in a certain amount of calories, and you burn the calories and all that kind of stuff. And by me just regularly fasting, I was having tremendous physical benefits to my body. When God calls us to do things, as He knows it draws us closer to Him spiritually, and it brings about all kinds of things like that, but it's also a physical benefit to us, because He's created us as spiritual and physical beings. And so the stuff He draws us to do and tells us to do and commands us to do, and asks us to do, I mean, obviously benefits us spiritually in our relationship with Him, but there's side benefits of, I remember a guy in a church in Ohio, he talked about giving. He's like, we live in a country where when you give, you get tax credit for it. God blesses you that way too. If you give, you give. God has all kinds of ways He uses all this stuff. So if we fast regularly, it's also, it is a physical benefit to our bodies. So, anybody else? Anything else you got, Miss Kathy?
Not really. The only thing I wanted to say is that if you do go on a fast, it's not fair. It's not considered a fast if my husband hates chicken livers. He hates them. Now, if he told me I'm giving up chicken livers for a week, that's not a fast, people. That's not a fast. For me to fast beef liver, I don't like that. Liver and onions, I don't like that. For me to fast that, that's not a fast, because I'm not going to eat that anyway. So a fast, you're supposed to be challenging your body, be challenging your flesh to where the spirit overtakes your flesh. That's basically what a fast is. So anyway, so I hope y'all learned a little bit. I did, and I appreciate y'all coming. And James, you want to close us out in prayer?